Taking unusually long.
It is.
Hey, and there we go. Of course, once I say bad things about it, that's when the recording actually starts. Hello, everybody. We're here with Agency Accelerator. Here I am with Tom Nasser of Xray Tech,
How you
as
doing?
always. And I am, of course, Trevor of Crowd Tamers, as always. And we're here after a bit of an interregnum while I was super sick and poopy. And now, hopefully, am back onto my usual BS. And so, with that in mind, I thought we time to come back and talk about some things that Tom and I have learned and or done recently that is helpful to anybody of whom may be listening and learning about launching and accelerating your own agency. So, if you go to the URL in the blue part of our title bar here at the bottom of the screen, bit.ly/no code underscore building. There we go. That'll drop you to the Xray pinned dashboard where you can, one, see the excellent software that Tom and the Xray team have made, and two, see what we're talking about today. And today we're going into how to accelerate your value as an agency. I actually had a talk yesterday with a guy, his first time ever launching an agency, and he's like 3 weeks into it, and he was apparently going to contract me to help build his agency's business. And I'm like, hey, dude, this is cool, but you're launching an agency, a performance agency. I'm like, maybe you should be good at that. So he's like, yeah, but I'm new at this. I'm learning it all. So this is fine. But one of the things that he was doing, and I'm also seeing this is pretty common for new agency starters, that they go, just, hey, I'll sell, leads to plumbers or whatever, and I'll be different because I'm cheaper or something. And the problem you run there is there's always going to be somewhere like a 15-year-old who still lives at home and whose fixed overhead is like they take out the trash once a week. That's the only responsibilities they have, and they can undercut you. So you can't win by being cheapest. It's even worse if they're not just a 15-year-old living at home, but they're a 15-year-old living at home in Botswana. So now they're happy to do work for $5 worth of profit for the whole week. Like you can't. So what do you do instead? And what I said on a recent live stream with the folks at Furlough on Discord, and I will reiterate here, is you have to be different, right? You have to position yourself somewhere unique. And Tom, you've probably been more successful with agencies than I have. How do you do unique positioning?
It's probably a comment that we get more often than not is that we're the oddball out. Xray Tech generally as oh, that's an interesting model, or that's a different model than they've seen in the agency world. And we are very happy about that, right? We're intentionally being different, and I think that when you're trying to establish yourself as an agency, thought leadership content is going to be the best thing for you. Now, at my first agency, Checkmate, we didn't do this. The entire business was predicated on how many people can Tom dial and find in the Rolodex. And that's not a great way of doing business. And it's not, it doesn't feel very good personally either, right? Like when all of your clients happen to be your friends, it sort of muddies the water a little bit in ways that you might not have intended or even thought would happen.
So, I much prefer to detest my clients. Yes.
Yeah, I think it just comes from like, people around you want to help, right? There's one layer of that, but the second layer is like, if you can get your messages out and really, plant the flag in the ground from a thought leadership perspective, you start getting people outside of your network, outside of your network's network, to come in the door and start to have a conversation. And that's really where your thought leadership content separates you as a differentiator. And like, you might be still in, performance marketing or in automation or whatever, overarching category you're in, but you have a couple really particular beliefs or a couple particular ways of doing things. And those oddities are something that should be showcased. In a lot of ways, when we talk about our membership model, right? In an agency context, it's at first an eyebrow raiser, and at the end it's like, oh wow, this is a really different way of aligning incentives for all the parties involved. And like, those types of things can repeat itself in every industry. And being the thought leader, content creator, preaching whatever it is that makes you different as an agency, a lot of times is what's going to get attention and then eventually start a conversation. I think you might be muted, Trevor.
I muted myself cleverly by clicking in the wrong darn place.
There you go.
So good job, Trevor. High five. Way to be good. Professional on stream. So I think the three things you can do to really differentiate yourself when you're talking about how your agency is different. Thought leadership is a big one. The packaging is a big one. You talked on packaging, right? You package Xray Tech differently than any other automations agency, and I package Crowd Tamers differently than any other performance marketing agency.
Yeah.
And then the third one is niche, right? Who do you go after? And you can't only do one of them. You kind of, at least two and ideally all three, should be distinct and different so that in the end, when someone is evaluating you versus somebody else, it's like trying to compare apples and elephants. You go, I'm not really sure where the one-to-one synchronicity is here. So the unique positioning with thought leadership, though, is, I think, it's relevant to our conversation today because of the other topics that we're talking about, but also it's the one that is, it is hard to do because you have to stick with it and be putting out content constantly. You've got to be in front of people all the time because you have every week, if there's 10,000 people who might buy from you, this week only 40 are ready to buy.
Mm-hmm.
And the other 9,960, it's good if they hear about you, but they're not buying right now. And thought leadership and content creation is one of the ways to really make sure you're visible when somebody in the buyer's journey is ready to buy. And that thought leadership and the way you position yourself with this content creation is a big part of also taking up some space as an agency, right? My agency's website, which we'll be talking about later in a little bit, it's only 150 pages, right? But the actual pages part, that's just like, hey, the parts you navigate to from the homepage, it's maybe 5. Mm-hmm. I don't have tons of pages on every use case, no. What I do is I write blog posts a lot. I post on LinkedIn every day. I post on Twitter often enough. I post to YouTube at least once a week. Like, all of this is giving me a footprint and making me more discoverable, even if you're not actively ready to buy, but you're searching for, startup go-to-market. Crowd Tamers actually starts to pop when you search for that now. In a way that it didn't because I just talk so much about it. So I guess I'll ask you, what are you doing these days in content creation? I mean, other than this live stream that we're both on, obviously, like, what's part of your mix to try and give you that footprint we're talking about with thought leadership?
It all starts with YouTube. For us, it's how can we make long form content that actually teaches people how this stuff works, because we think there's going to be a massive retraining that happens of office professionals that are now moving into the automation sphere because they're going to end up leveraging different LLMs or chatbots or AI in various capacities. And the name of the game is going to be, how can the employee base be able to leverage AI in a way that they understand and that can create more output than training another person. So our whole content creation strategy has been making high quality content for YouTube. And then after having that content, being able to create a blog post with that, being able to create short form content with that, being able to have social media posts about the topic, that all is led from the YouTube long form, high quality content creation. And what ends up happening, and I think in our demo today, you're going to see the same thing, is like, there's 150 or so blog posts that you have on your website, right?
Yep.
It is very impractical to imagine every person who's like, oh, I want to learn about go-to-market. Let me read these 100 or 20 blog posts that Trevor has created on his website. Like, of course, that's not going to happen, right?
I agree.
it's very rare that someone would actually read from your original blog post all the way up to today and say, I'm ready to do business with you now.
There you go.
Right.
And given how bad some of the early blog posts are that I wrote, please don't do that.
Yeah. Right. So some of the things that in creating so much content, you end up having all of this material that you then need to do something with, or somehow surface for other people that is in your ethos, right? How can you give access to this? So we've been working really hard on Xray Tools chat at xray.tools. You can chat with a chatbot that can actually
Boom.
give you some insight on tools here. But what today's demo is actually of, and if you go to that bit.ly link in the description on the screen here, you'll be able to actually chat with all of CrowdTamer's content here. So if we come in here and we say, what is go to market or what is GTM, right? We actually get a chatbot answer that goes across all of Trevor's content and says, "Oh, everything you need to know about go to market. You should click on this," right?
There you go.
And we can say like, "How do I set up a Facebook campaign?" And hopefully, this is going to go through, right? Have
There
a
you go.
list of things that help you set up that Facebook campaign, and then point directly to the article that is referencing that the chatbot referenced all of this stuff. So, preparing for your first go-to-market experiment, part 3. This is where all of these ideas and material came from. So, it's based on all of Trevor's content, all the 150 blog posts, and you can ask it whatever question you want, and it will tell you based off of the entire knowledge of Trevor's blog, this is what it can do, and then point you directly to the source, so then you can then dig deeper and be able to do this. So at Xray, we built this this chat interface, this chat bot system that allows us to do this for arbitrary sites, arbitrary data sources, whatever it is that we want to train a chatbot and focus on. We can point it to a website, we can point it to a body of data. It really doesn't matter. So we can say, what is workflow design? And the chatbot is going to reply based on our definition of workflow design that comes from our blog and our thought leadership content that we've created over the last 3 years. So the rise of workflow designers, right? This is where it's pulling this information from. Or what is a ODB, which might not be a familiar acronym for you, but it's an operational database. So even specific nomenclature to our site, it's going to be able to pull that out and be able to respond thoughtfully enough to get.
That's something else I think I'd throw in here, right? If you ask it, how do you build a Facebook campaign here? This is not the right place, right? So it's not like it's glommed all the information. This is based on your data, so it's going to go, I don't know, man. Oh, wow, it's actually looking it up from where, though?
Well, yeah, it's probably so. This is an edge case. I'm happy we do this, live building. But
Look at me! I just found a bug. I'm an a-hole.
It's got, no. It's not going to source yours. It's sourcing our social media scheduler, because this is what is like closest. But this is probably from just general information on the web.
Okay.
Because there is a baseline of information that the model is trained on anyway.
I get it.
And creating a Facebook campaign is included in that. But we can't compare the answers, because when you close this pin, it goes away.
Gotcha.
Yeah, everything goes away, so we can't quite compare there.
But it was different.
You yourself.
Steps than I did. Yeah.
Yeah,
so,
I mean, cool stuff on CrowdTamer, stuff on Xray, and if you have a site that you want to custom train, a chatbot for your team, or internal or marketing purposes, this is something that we can set up within a week or two, depending on how clean and how well assembled your information is. But it's really pretty straightforward, and we're excited to make this available for really any of our members who want it, or somebody new.
Yeah, and I want to call this out because I know of other services that do this, right? That will read a corpus of data and let you query it. But it's worth noting, when you're an Xray.tech member, you get more than this. I think that's one of the interesting things here is this is just one of the tools you as an automator can hook up for people.
Mm-hmm.
So if you've seen a tech demo of somebody else doing something similar, cool. Like if nothing else, this technology works. I think it's super cool to see it trained on my data, and I imagine anybody who's written a bunch seeing this would be like, "Wow, this is awesome." I'm 100% going to start dropping that in every class that I teach for Founder Institute, and be like, "Don't talk to me until you talk to my blog first." But the idea itself is like it's not completely novel to you. But when you say,
No.
"Hey, look, this comes with all the automation of being an Xray Tech member. This gives you the other Xray Tech internal tools, your pins, all the other tools we've showed over the last months, year, maybe here on our
Yeah, yeah,
agency accelerator streams. Like that is increasingly you're putting together this uh, set of automations, this set of utilities that when you build something for people with Xray.tech, you're adding dark sorcery in the background to enable things where, like, just imagine every ticket I get in through Zendesk
yeah.
starts by querying my internal Xray.tech dashboard of, do we have an answer for this? And if it finds a good match, it sends that first and then says, did it answer your question?
Yeah.
Right? These sorts of things. And that's an easy one. I'm sure there's 100 other ones you can think of you can unlock with this.
The example that you said earlier, Trevor, is exactly the strategy. It's comparing apples to elephants. What are we
There you
talking
go.
about? Right? Like the comparison of working to, an automation agency that will connect your zaps together versus a membership of continuous workflow design that comes with the chatbot, the Xray workflow as a home screen of context, the Xray tools as an automation search engine for your non-technical team. Like these are little things that really add up to create this experience that's really not comparable
Yeah.
to apples to other organizations. So
And
yeah, we're really excited about it. And if you
that's
have a big blog, please hit us up. We'll give you what we demoed today for free. That is just like, hey, test it out, see what you like, get some quirky answers like that. That's totally fine. I think there's a lot of education hesitation. Is this really going to work for me versus what the people on YouTube say that have hundreds of thousands of subscribers and views for this magic 15-minute chatbot millionaire thing. This is not that.
this is not that.
There are clear limitations, that we can outline together. But if you have a blog, make it chattable. Why not?
It's super awesome. If you have any big, also I'd note any knowledge base, the same idea, right? I do feel like it's almost you could do the world a public good if you just made Google's entire docs queryable. Because goddamn, I am having to Google to figure out the answer to my questions, and then of course inevitably I find like a 4-year-old knowledge base article that's not current anymore, and you can't do the things they say you should do.
No, you can't.
So anyway,
No.
something else I wanted to bring up for Agency Accelerator is because like this is super cool. I do encourage anybody who is got a big corpus of data, a book also I could feed in validate first the book and just make the book queryable. Since everything in validate first is in my blog too, that would be kind of silly. But having that there and then also like my course as I'm building it out, other things I've
Mhm.
got, I could just make that queryable and make the data more accessible for people who want to read it. Anything you've got, if you want to add queries and automations to a content like you've got, that's crazy. Some other just random notes I wanted to drop in here at the end of our discussion. One of them is we're Agency Accelerator. I've turned off the branding at the bottom of the screen. We're Agency Accelerator, and I recently had a discussion with Furlough on Discord, discord.gg/Furlough. They're a cool bunch of people who are all agency owners or agency aspirational owners. And I launched a talk called How to Completely F Up Launching Your Agency. I managed not to swear in the live stream. Tom knows when I'm not live streaming, that's pretty rare.
He's a sailor.
I like a sailor. And I think I dropped one S bomb. That was it. So I talk about what I've done wrong, which is a lot over the last 2.5 years. And because this is my first agency, and the more I run it, the more I realize every 2 or 3 months I could do another talk about how to F up launching your agency because I learned I've effed something else up.
Feeling doesn't go away.
I'm sure it doesn't until you've got, once I've done this for 20 years and then I'll be like, I don't know, I've learned everything about how to launch it. Now I'm in how do I F up running my agency. So we'll drop a link to that in the pin in Xray to the live stream in case you want to check it out. I do think it is, if you are early stages in building and accelerating your own agency, worth checking out. While you're at it, I'll give a free plug again for Furlough on Discord. They're a cool bunch of people. It's free. And as I told the guy who I was mentoring yesterday, who's got his brand new agency, he's like, how do I ask you questions? I'm like, well, you can book a call and it's $500 an hour. Or if you just post it publicly on Furlough, like I'll answer it. And that's free. But I'm building public knowledge because you're asking in public, right? You want a private one-on-one, you pay me. You want to do something in public, hey, that's cool. We're helping the world get better. So,
or you want to ask the chatbot, you go to that bit.ly link, and then you ask chatbot's knowledge. Trevor's knowledge base here in his blog. Just ask his blog.
There you go. Yeah, I'm gonna have to make a page just for that, so people can go straight to chat.crowdtamers or something. So yeah, so that knowledge, building your thought leadership, and then making it understandable, right? That's a big part of it. And I do think tools like this chatbot that makes your knowledge comprehensible and digestible, that's a big win. Because right now, I tell people, if they're like, hey, how do I engage with you, at a little baby steps, it's pay me $8.56 or $8.99 or whatever it is and buy my book, right? Then they'll buy my book and be like, well, I don't know if they had an answer to my question, never mind. Being able to say, hey, what's your question? Go ask it here. And then, of course, in the future, if I find I'm seeing traffic here, I can always add in an upsell loop. Hey, you've asked 3 questions. Buy the book, right? You can build stuff in there. This kind of thing will be a big part of how future of work works. That's why you're building what you are building. I threw in my last kind of show footer notes with how to F up launching your agency. What's your footer notes here, Tom? Anything else you want to toss in?
No, besides, if you have a blog, happy to make it chattable, and give you a free test on that. Besides that, we've been working a lot, in this chatbot world the last couple of months. Launched, Xray.tools, where now there's a chatbot that you can actually talk to the API docs of specific tools. So think things like Slack or Zoom or Notion. You can actually just ask questions on Xray.tools to the API docs. It's really designed to help no coders be low coders and low coders actually be able to write, whatever type of code they need to write. So sort of a sliding scale of technicality on that. But other than that, I'd say, hop on the YouTube train. We just passed 3,000 subscribers on YouTube, so really excited about that. Yeah, and have some big exciting opportunities coming up too. So one thing at a time, but really happy to build in public with you, Trevor, and show off the chatbots today and give people access to your mountain of knowledge there on go-to-market. I'm going to be taking some pages out of this book too.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much, Tom. As always, everybody, how do we find you, Tom, on the internet if we have follow-up questions?
You find me on LinkedIn at Tom Nasser, TOMNASSR, or you can hit us up on our LinkedIn page at our YouTube page at Xray Automation, and we're Xray Automation on everywhere. So you can find us there. How about you, Trevor?
Of course, I'm on LinkedIn, LinkedIn/in/Trevor Longino, or, you're watching this from me, probably you're watching there. I'm on YouTube at YouTube at Launch Today, because I grabbed a stupid name for some reason, not Crowdtamers. And you can always go find Crowdtamers and eventually Crowdtamers chat at crowdtamers.com. As always, thanks for watching Agency Accelerator, and we kept it a little short today. We had a quick little demo. That's cool. It's keeping it sweet. I'll see everybody in 2 weeks. We'll come with something else to talk about. We might dive into one of the other 3 ways to kind of differentiate yourself other than thought leadership, right? Either our offer or our niche, and talk about how we can help you determine those. But in the meantime, hope you all have a good 2 weeks, and I will see you again later.
Adios.
Bye, everybody.